3BT reunited, back together.
Full strength.
Full strength.
I'm here, y'all.
No ice, no cuts, full strength. Three brothers talking. Episode 12, hanging out.
Sorry if you missed me.
This is, if everybody missed Andrew. This is where it all began, though. Not this very table.
It's a table,
but
it's an old table.
This room.
We upgraded the table.
We upgraded tables and chairs.
That's right.
That's about it.
It's where we recorded the first episode.
Andrew, did you listen to last week's episode?
A little bit.
No.
A little bit. That's fair.
That's fine.
Yeah.
It sounded decent, so I just gave up.
There you go.
I'm kidding.
We
I
did
listened to it.
Well, for this week, I'm David. I'm your unnamed host.
I'm Jeremy. I have a name, host.
Okay.
I'm Andrew. I guess I'll go with just a tired host.
He's a tired host?
Yeah.
Why are you tired?
You're not the I'm back host.
I mean, I am back, but also
Back and
just
tired?
yesterday, Lincoln decided that he was a grown-up kid and just did not nap for like 8 hours. And like we had taken him to the zoo, so like we thought he would be good and exhausted, and he went from like 11 o'clock all the way till his 8 o'clock bedtime with like only like a 15-minute nap.
So he was a cranky kid.
He was cranky. It was taxing.
Did that make you cranky?
I was a little cranky. Kaylee was a little cranky, but yeah, we got through it. He slept and he slept great last night, so that was good.
Okay.
But, yeah.
It's always
Yeah.
one.
Andrew's back. Everybody, there's some people that were worried about him.
Guess who's back?
Make sure he's okay.
I am
Back
okay.
weekend.
We're
he's
finally through all of like our travels and everything too,
Yeah.
so I'm feeling
Until
good about
next
that.
summer.
Yeah. Like we get to relax and actually have a couple weekends, so
We should just record all our episodes for over the summer and then what the stress
Let's
about
just record
recording.
all of our episodes forever.
Forever. We'll record
Right
them
now.
all in advance. And then
Sounds like
in
a
20
great
years,
plan.
we'll have like a Christmas that has a Christmas from 2020.
Like
and
5 years from
these
now.
toys don't even exist anymore.
Yeah.
PS4, what is that?
There we go. I said I'm your unnamed host because I realized in our last episode, Andrew's not here and it all falls apart. And Jeremy and I didn't intro ourselves in the last episode,
yeah,
I don't think.
totally disorganized.
We said that Andrew wasn't there. So
We said Andrew wasn't there. So
they probably didn't even know who they were listening
process of
I
elimination.
might have acted. I think I was acting like David because I didn't say my name. But
Yeah, as a process of elimination, people were listening like, okay, I'm not hearing Andrew's voice.
I know what he
so-
is.
I'm going to piece it together.
He's
But
the
yeah,
podcast glue.
to. I would say I'm the most recognizable. No, I'm kidding.
obviously. I am David. I do have a name this week. Jeremy does also have a name this week.
I've had a name for 30 years now.
Yeah. We just forgot to say it last time. But
We used to assume we had a long history of you knowing who we were
think
for 11
we,
episodes.
I think
For
we just
those of
forgot.
you that have been listening
Or
for so long.
One way or the other.
Yeah.
I think we just forgot.
We heard it both
multiple
ways.
weeks that we
Yeah.
have our history. Yeah.
Yeah. But we are back together. We're getting back in the flow of things here because we went maybe a month before we all recorded at the same time.
Yeah.
So in the same room and everything.
It sounded like you recorded like different snippets of episodes.
We
at
just
different
pieced them
times.
together.
David's gonna record this week, then pass the mic.
Newsflash, yeah.
I'll listen to David's portion and then
Newsflash, we're
respond to it,
not
and
that
then
good of
we'll add
editing.
Andrew in later.
Yeah, it takes a lot of editing.
We are
you know.
not advanced at it.
I have really creative editing skills like that.
Yeah.
But
It'd be quite an episode, actually.
it probably
That'd take a
would
lot of
be
time.
Just jump cuts and everything
Be
everywhere.
exciting. Who knows what would
It'd
happen?
be even more cool if we could do that with video. But it's good that Andrew talked about being the tired host because today we're going to talk to the resident dads of the pod and talk to them about having your first kid and what that's like. And also we're going to talk about buying your first house and what that's like. So having your first kid, buying your first house, what is it like to make decisions
owning
in that arena?
property.
signing your name a million times.
Yeah.
Signing your name a million times. Yeah.
Hand cramps.
For multiple things.
Yeah.
So it's
Signing your life away.
You guys want to start? You guys want to start with houses or babies? What do you think?
You can pick.
I'd say
Andrew, you can
I say
pick.
houses because houses is easier.
Houses is easier. Okay.
I don't know.
I think.
I don't know. Houses are more intentional. Babies can kind of just happen.
Well,
Yeah.
that depends.
Okay. Well,
We don't need to get into that, but Jeremy's
I just
correct.
picked one, so yeah.
We're going with houses.
Yeah. So buying a house. Jeremy, you bought your house. You guys bought your house around the same time.
I think
Yeah, he actually
you
put in a lot more
closed
offers.
you closed like a week or two ahead of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. We did.
But that was, what were we,
But
July?
we moved in like a few weeks before.
We were July of last year? Or
Yeah.
what was it?
Yes. June
Yeah.
30th, we moved in on our anniversary. So
Yeah.
last year, we had our 2-year anniversary last Sunday. That year ago, we moved into that house.
Yeah.
So yeah, we
And we
then
moved
this
into,
year we got
yeah.
a dog. So
We moved into
There you go.
ours in late July. Yeah. So like a couple weeks later.
yep.
Yeah,
sounds right.
Jeremy and Faith have celebrated, like every month they celebrate another month of marriage by getting a new pet.
Yeah.
So
We've done a lot. This like we have two. So we got 2 new cats, Bobby and Tad Cooper.
they got married. These
These
and
aren't
they
cats. These are
owned-
literally like brand new kittens.
So-
Yeah, they're brand new
yeah.
kids. They're like 13 weeks old. Then we also
Yeah.
got Tenebras. A week ago. Tenny for short, and she's a good dog.
She's a good doggo.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've
So
done
now
done big. We
You,
go big.
you've been
in our
married
family.
for
and a
2
baby.
years.
We're
You've been
just
married for 2
talking-
years. You started with 1 dog and a horse, and
Yep,
now
and now
you
we-
have
2
an
cats,
additional
2 dogs,
a
and a
human
horse.
being,
Yep.
2 cats, and another dog.
Yeah,
And it's funny too, because like we've been joking with them over like the last couple of weeks in our texts and all that basically they're running a farm.
Mhm.
It feels like
And
a zoo
they
half
got
the
so
time
like
now.
Tenny, your new dog, just so y'all are aware on the pod, is a border collie mix. And so those are naturally herding dogs
Mhm.
anyway. So he was talking about beforehand how like anytime him and Faith are in a room, Tenny goes out of her way to just herd all of the animals into the room with them.
Yeah, Mia doesn't like it
And
as much
trying
as
to like get the
cats.
kittens and the other dog and be like, hey, we're all together in here now.
Please
So
don't leave. It is kind of entertaining.
I'm like,
especially
you're
'cause-
basically running a farm in your house. Yeah.
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 Yeah,
She's-
that's why we got her. We figure she'll be good for the farm one day.
She's
that we're gonna
still-
have
yeah,
eventually. We already
she's
got the horse.
still
Now we just need
doing
like
her
the
calling.
land.
There you go.
We can't put that on our quarter-acre lot. They would frown upon that and pick her
Yeah.
into Violet Township.
Just get a horse in my like
Faith does
quarter
want
acre
chickens.
backyard.
She does want chickens, so we might have to talk to your in-laws about chickens.
Yeah, my in-laws know all about chickens.
Mm.
If you tell my wife that you're thinking about chickens, she'll make sure that it happens.
Maybe we have to get.
Because she wants us to get chickens
mean,
really bad.
You shouldn't do that in your apartment.
Yeah, we
I
can't
mean,
do that
fresh
right now.
eggs are good though.
That's my
Sure.
thought. We save
Yeah.
a ton of money on eggs.
Yeah.
Tons.
So much
Well
money.
worth it. You
Yeah.
totally make a profit on those chickens.
You totally come out ahead.
For every
Um,
chicken you have, an egg. That's an egg a day.
Do they literally
kind
lay
of.
an egg a day? Is
Uh,
that
sort of.
or just about
Yeah.
close to it?
We need it. We need
I'm not
an
the expert.
Yeah.
Who is?
My
Can we get Rachel
sister-in-law.
on
My
here?
sister-in-law is the expert.
Which one, Rebecca or Sarah?
Sarah. Sarah's more the expert.
Sarah's the expert.
But
Too bad for Steven.
buying your first house,
Back to that.
what did? I guess my question would be: Rachel and I are in the process of doing that right now. We're looking at houses and having tons of fun, going to open houses and talking to realtors.
That's a little
and
sarcastic.
That's very sarcastic. I have almost no fun doing it. I'm much more of just like I want to be done with those
Just make the
types of
decision
things.
and move on.
Yeah.
And Rachel
That's what we
enjoys it a
did.
little bit more. But I guess my question is, what lessons did you learn through that process, or after you bought the first house? What did God kind of teach you through all that?
Do you want me to go first? I'll
You can go first. Our process was really quick.
Yeah.
So
Ours was a little more as far as like
you were more intentional with it.
intentional. Like we knew when we were married, when we got married last August, she had already been in the apartment that we were going to be in. And then I moved in like right after the wedding, obviously. But we were intentional that like, okay, we're going to be in here a year and then we're going to house hunt,
Mhm.
and be on the search. So when it came around to like, basically you got to wait because the summer months obviously are crazy for house hunting. So once we came around to that, we knew, and we started our search. Really the big thing, for me, it just came to the point where I'm very much a control freak in really every aspect that I can be. And so the lesson that I learned was that like I am not in control of the kind of the provisions for my family ultimately.
Yeah.
And it got really frustrating because when we got to those summer months and like we were on a time crunch as far as either needing to be, getting into contract on a house, or we were going to ultimately have to, buy time and either rent month to month or like go to another apartment or townhouse for a limited time.
Yeah.
Because everything we went into, we were getting frustrated time and time again by competing offers, by the fast moving market, everything we did. Like we liked houses, we put in offers and we were just getting outbid. So it was really a test kind of for me and Kaylee's relationship as a whole. And it got very frustrating. And ultimately it just made me realize how much I am not in control of how much I want to desire to be in control of all these aspects and like be planning out and providing for my family. But yet ultimately it was going to be, and fortunately in the nick of time before we actually were like going to just basically bite the bullet and be like, okay, we're going to rent for a limited time and just wait for something to come up. That house that we found, which ended up being the one that worked out, yes, there were competing offers, but yet the people just chose our offer above everybody else's. And it worked out to be the perfect house. And it was provided literally like in that final month of like when we needed it and all that, which, purely I'm trying to say here that it was God's doing and not mine. Cause like I was trying to take control and manipulate the system as best I could.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the big thing that I realized.
Yeah, I would say I'm already starting to feel that just because when you're looking for a house, you are in a bit of a helpless state because you're waiting for the right one to just pop on the market. And you don't have any control over like who's going to sell their house in the neighborhood that you want to live in. You just have to hope, that it comes along at the right time and that it's in your price range and that they're ready to sell and all that stuff. And Rachel and I have already felt that stress a little bit and how easy it is. I think it really tests your ability to, to expect like God to take care of you and expect God to provide, at the right time and money once. Cause Rachel and I want to, we wish, obviously like anybody else, we wish that the first day you decided you wanted a house, it just popped on the market right away.
Yeah.
And you just walked right in, you just turn the keys and you're good to go. And, that's not how it is. Like you and Kaylee, Andrew, you guys, you actually lost out on some houses.
We lost out on, I think we had 4 more offers in on like 4 houses that we lost out on. Which, like it came down to the point where like we were like getting ourselves into bidding wars and we're like, ultimately, like it should not be this hard if this is the right house for us. And we had we had everything worked out budget wise and everything for where we wanted to go. Obviously as a numbers guy and all that, I wasn't going to let ourselves get in over our heads, but yeah, it was a little frustrating at that point. And like, Kaylee, I definitely saw the stress on her. And like and that translated to stress on me because I felt like, I needed to come up with a solution here. And ultimately it was just out of my control with how fast moving just the market over the summer and all that is. So.
Yeah, I think, how do you think that kind of translated into you learning to, you talk about the stress and dealing with all that. How do you think that transitioned into you learning how to like lead as a husband better? I mean, hopefully it did a little bit, right?
It just taught me that I am like so not in control. And yeah, like it taught me too that I just have to trust in God's provisions and what he has for us basically on a daily basis. Cause even like the day that we found the house that we had eventually was going to be our house that we're living in now. It was like basically we knew like both of us, we went after work that day. We were both tired from the day and it was just like, oh, we got another showing to go to. And both of us, we weren't really thrilled. Like we had already been dejected. And so like, we weren't expecting it to really be the one at all. And then, we saw the house and we liked it, but then like once we figured out like, okay, let's pull the trigger on this, then it really taught me that I just have to be hands off at that point and let God work if it is the right one for me. And I guess that's just overall, like, you just see as soon as you go for the house, as soon as you get the baby involved and all that so much more like you just have to rely so much more on God from a day-to-day perspective. And it's just a challenge each and every day for me that I like. Clearly, I want to take back control, and it's like it's constant struggle from that perspective, just in everything we do now. So,
yeah. Jeremy, you think you had a similar experience, or?
Well, ours, we actually didn't. So we weren't anticipating buying a house. Faith was looking around more than I was. I got home from work one day and she was going to look at 2. I'm like, okay, cool. We'll go look at 2 houses. We looked at one in Groveport and Founders Bend, which we liked. It was more of a just a flip. Someone bought it. And we looked at this one where we're at now, and we both loved it because the location was right and all that stuff. So it came on the market the day before. That day, there had been 3 people looking at it that day, and they had already gotten an offer in. So we went to dinner and we talked to the realtor, like, hey, if you want this house, you have to put an offer in now.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. And me, like Andrew, I'm very much an analytical person. I had everything taken down to the T of like what we can afford. And also then I backtracked. I'm like, okay, I feel more comfortable with this money.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
With this range.
When somebody says like today.
Oh yeah.
Like,
And I don't make any decisions quick. Like there are very few times like I've made just like quick decisions, especially when it comes to, I don't know, it could take 15 to 30 years to pay things off.
Which is so hard when you're getting a house in general, just because you have to pull the trigger.
Oh
quick
yeah, you have
half
to,
the
especially
time,
now.
so, yeah.
So we went to Harvest Moon and Faith was asking, like, all right, like, so we're on the way back to Hilliard for our apartment and we're praying. I was like dead silent. Faith's asking me questions like, look, I just need this entire ride. I need time to pray and think.
Mm-hmm.
And so we put an offering. I'm like, yeah, I think that God's telling us when you made this house, we'll put this much in. We put a contingency in on like one thing because the furnace needed, afterward, the inspection, we found the furnace needed some work. Like other than that, like that's what we're gonna go in. And it was actually lower than another offer, but they chose us. And then looking back, being like, because even then it stretches thin, it stretches thinner than I would like to be. But also, like you said, you're realizing, you know what, God's going to provide what he's going to provide. I know we're supposed to be here. Like, even the moments of being like, man, money's tighter than we thought it'd be like, well, do we feel like we're in the where we're supposed to be?
Yeah.
And after that, being like, man, this is the neighborhood we want to be. We got 2 months after we bought the house, the church we're going to right down the street bought the building. They moved into that. So I was like, okay, look what God was orchestrating that we didn't even know was even on the table yet.
Mm-hmm.
So things like that, when you step back and look at the process, you sit there and try to, I'm of this similar persuasion, I try to take control over so many things or take it back and being like, well, I'm still learning to let go. But those moments of being like, God, I don't know what to do here. I'm just going to step out in faith, like to just do something and like say, if you're just going to say no, you're going to say no. And I'm going to say, you know what, I'm going to trust that my God will give me good things for my good. And if I be like, you know, God, I think you're telling us to do this. I think it's an act of faithful obedience. Yeah, we can afford it. We can. We're not going outside of our budget. We're not going to be, even with just me, we can do this.
It's uncomfortable.
It's uncomfortable, but it's not unwise.
Yeah.
It's not where I would like to be comfort wise, but where I like to be comfort wise is rarely where I should be.
Yeah.
And that's a whole lesson we learned.
I mean, the comfort
We'll do a
is
whole
like,
podcast on comfort.
It's also, I mean,
idolatry.
it's also tough too, just like thinking back, just like, I mean, grateful that Kaylee and I were like praying through the process together. And like we were praying over when we were trying to select and like make offers and all that, because like it's very easy in the house buying market. Like David, you might be going through this now where everything is so fast moving that if you're not
pressured,
but I was like, you can be pressured very quickly into circumstances and into situations like that you could be setting yourself and your family back or down a wrong path for years.
Yeah.
And that's where something like it has to just be ultimately turned over to God to just work, and be comfortable in what your numbers are and where you think you can best lead your family at and where you guys want to be. And then from there, let God orchestrate, the particulars and work in the magic
work
of
in the
that.
details.
Yeah.
Well, and that's where a lot of it, like you said, dude, unwise, but not. It was wise, uncomfortable, not unwise. Saying, okay, like we can do this. It's going to take an act of faith. Like, do you want us to do this? And maybe some changes later on, which isn't a problem. It's part of life. But sitting there saying, okay, I'm going to trust that God is going to do what he says he's going to do. Use the godly wisdom that I have. Tell people to be praying like throughout the process and us be praying through the process and being wise with how we can save more money and be frugal. But also saying, you know what? God can do a million things more than I know.
Yeah.
With like just this location, like we've been able to do a lot more with we're a new life with kids being able to come over. We had a pool so people could come by. We don't anymore. But even being like we've been open up our house, so like we've met a few people in our neighborhood by watching their dogs. Just different connections and being like, or even our neighborhood, like we have 2 widows that live next door to us, two different widows, and stuff like, okay, we can be a light here that we did not know, which is awesome to think about. It's scary, but awesome.
Like I just think back now where we're the house that has been a tremendous blessing for us, and like we could have definitely, if I would have taken back control in those situations, like we were in on 2 houses where we were in the opportunity to basically be in a bidding war, and if we wanted the house, we just had to simply up our offer another $1,000
is super
or $2.
easy to do.
And we would have went back and forth, and like we could have, like we were in negotiations, we could have technically gotten them if we would have like if you stretched ourselves a little more and all that. And then ultimately we just decided like, hey, maybe all this back and forth, maybe this is not meant to be. And we don't want to stretch ourselves to this number and, all these other things where it's like, if I wasn't, I don't know, like if I wasn't anxious in that aspect, and I was also had the worry of like, I need to get us into a place because like, obviously we got a baby coming, like we have to find somewhere to live, then I would have clearly like manipulated that situation and possibly gotten us down a wrong path of like just pulling the trigger on something that we, could have.
Yeah. You mentioned before, like the fear that you can have of, am I putting my family on the wrong, and like, am I about to make a decision that is going to affect my family financially for a long time? And that's something that
I mean, most of the time you are, as far as it's going to happen.
It's a reality situation. You're signing at least like the best case of 15-year.
But you're worried about, making a bad decision that's going to affect you for a long time. And even though buying a house isn't some kind of crisis, it's not like going through a health crisis or, there's a million things in life that are more traumatizing, tragic, more of an emergency than buying a house. But I think it does hopefully give you an idea of like, God will see us through those things. And like, you're going to go through a million things in life where you don't know every outcome and you don't know like one of the things Rachel and I talk about all the time is that both of our minds are kind of think about the fact of, maybe we buy this house, but what if a month from now a better house comes on the market? And then it's like, oh man, like we could make a mistake.
Did we not wait long enough? Yeah.
And that's where I don't think God wants us. That's very much being ruled by this kind of fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
It's really like a fear of missing out kind of thing, like missing out on God's best because of that. And I think that God would much rather us live based on a confidence knowing like, okay, I'll try to make the best decision I can today with the wisdom, the circumstances that God has put me in. And I'm going to trust that even if a quote unquote better house comes on the market tomorrow morning, I'm going to trust that he knew that the whole time.
Right.
And even if it wasn't a perfect house that we bought or a perfect whatever, or maybe it wasn't the right time to have a kid, whenever that right time is to have a kid,
there's never really
that mythical right time. Even if that wasn't the perfect time, like trusting like God's plan, God's ability to shepherd us through life is fine. So we don't have to walk around with a crushing weight of worry. Is this the perfect house?
Yeah. Is
it the perfect price, the perfect everything?
Yeah. When you put that in everything in your life, like job, finding the quote unquote the one, there's opportunity to say, okay, I'm going to walk in godly wisdom, and then also trust like, if it's not good for you.
Yeah.
And there's some stretch like, you have sin and disobedience and all this stuff. That's a very real, those consequences of those things. But also like if I'm walking in faithful obedience, if there's a slip, even if I think I slipped, it's not necessarily a slip.
Yeah.
Like it could just be like in Psalm 121, your foot won't slip. And I know there's oftentimes in my life that God, like, did I slip out of did I mess up? Did I miss a step? Did I step too far? And it's like, you go back, it's like, no, like, I know we prayed about this. I know I was earnestly seeking your face in this, no matter what that is. And you say, well, even this didn't turn out the way I wanted to, it turned out the way God wanted it to be. And that's the best place to be regardless. Whether that's uncomfortable for me, or it's still an opportunity for us to grow and learn about his goodness in the midst of potentially wanting or being in need. We pray more often when we are in need than when we have all the answers.
Yes. And hopefully that going through having your first kid, buying your house, those things will stretch you hopefully to pray more, to seek him more.
That was definitely, I mean, the big thing was just that both of those processes really transformed the prayer life big time.
Yeah, I think that's huge. Learning in life, like, oh, okay, I'm going to have to learn how to be okay with some unknowns in life, knowing that God doesn't expect me to know every unknown. Mm-hmm. And the book Just Do Something by Kevin DeYoung is really good for that reason. It's really short and we'll link to it. But it talks all about the fact that God calls you to make decisions based on having a pure heart with motives that are honoring to him and using the wisdom that is available to you then. Mm-hmm. And you don't have to know the future, and it's not right and it's not healthy.
Which is informed by scripture. But
exactly.
Yeah.
It's not right. The wisdom comes from scripture, but it's not right or healthy or helpful to just continually ask God to reveal the future to you.
Yes.
Yeah. As tempting as that's how we want to operate, but that's not how God operates.
And if you look at scripture, like Abraham or people acting in faith, they just walked. And
Abraham didn't know.
Like he said, just go. Like leave. He literally just leave the land of your fathers, and I'll reveal where you're going. Mm-hmm. So that's the best. And that's where, I mean, granted, it feels like a bigger step than just buying a house, but it's really not that much of a difference. In many cases, it's still an act of obedience either way.
So that's having your first house. Hi, Faith.
That was a good segue there.
That was a good segue. But having your first kid,
a little different.
We don't have tons of time to talk about this because we're trying to keep the episodes a little bit short.
Short and
to the
sweet.
point. Short and sweet. Just like the drink generously provided by Jared Rossiter.
And the notebooks.
Sponsor the pod. And he gave us notebooks. He's still the best sponsor we've ever had. Easily.
Thanks, man. He also reviewed us on Apple iTunes.
We're still working through our blames,
he's
Jared.
Quite. We have 5 out of 5 stars and 11 reviews, by the way.
We have 11 now.
We have 11, it says.
Boy,
I looked at it the other day, and those aren't all our, hopefully not all
big
our mom.
dime.
At least we'll see the first time that we get a review from somebody we don't know who it is. I don't know if we've crossed that.
I don't think we have.
We gotta have him on at some point or something.
Loosely.
Yeah.
Everybody,
I can make
we
that
might not know
happen.
them well, but
Yep.
we've got some reviews from people that they still kind of know us, I guess, a little bit.
We are pretty famous.
Or like I paid them to review us. But having your
give us
first
5.
kid, I've got 2 easy questions. One is, does other people's, like whenever you're leading up to having your first kid, everybody who has kids talks to you about, like, they try to give you warnings, they try to give you help.
Avoid
Does any of their, let's call it wisdom, does any of their wisdom actually feel like it prepares you to have your kid? As I asked that, I looked at Faith's face to see if Faith would just laugh like, no, it doesn't prepare you at all.
I think there's parts of it. And you know, everyone means well, but also the caveat of every kid is different.
Yeah.
That's probably like the best advice. Like, you know what? This helped us, but
it might not help you.
might be completely different for you. Or like Andrew and I, like they're 2 weeks apart and they're extremely different kids.
Oh, yeah.
It's true.
Mike is a little chubster and Lincoln's not.
Well,
and
and
Lincoln slept and Micah didn't for
Yeah.
like 6 or 7 months. So.
Yeah. And it's like different. Like Mike is like way more, like you could like set him down. He's way more solid, like sitting up. He's way more solid crawling around. But like, and like you see the opposite of that. Lincoln is still very wobbly and like I have to watch his every move. And yet like, and then the other aspect of like Lincoln is like, he just yappers all the time. Like he's just blabbing, talking
Mike
to
is more
nothing.
quiet.
And Mike is more quiet. And it's like every kid's personality just manifests in different ways.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely, you get a lot of wisdom, obviously, and people you know mean well. It's kind of just hard. You have to wade through a lot of it. Just like everything else. You can be buying your first house. You have to wade through everything.
Everybody will tell you something and you don't know if all of it's going to be it might not apply to you. It might have worked for them. It might not apply to you.
Well, and also like pediatrics and all that stuff have changed. Like, oh, like when we were young, they slept on their stomachs, and now like, oh, you can't have sleep on your stomachs.
Yeah,
because they might. And you're like, okay, well, I can't listen to my mom and dad now.
Yeah,
so.
But like you just, I mean, it's trial and error, big time. Of like, and you just have to again trust in the Lord that He's going to sustain your kid.
And sustain your marriage.
And sustain your marriage through it, because like it tests patience. And like even the little things of like, you know, I'm still like, Kaylee refers to me as like the hover dad, where like I'm always hovering over Lincoln and everything. And she's more of just like, you know, if he's gonna bump his head, he's gonna bump his head at some time. Like he's playing, it happens. And so, but like even when he was little, like I was the one that was constantly going in there and like checking to make sure he wasn't, you know, flipped the wrong way or like uncomfortable or anything like that. And as I've seen him develop and just like get all these different strengths and all this, like you realize night after night, and there's some nights where like literally he'd go all the way through the night, sleep soundly, didn't hear a peep, and then like I wake up in the morning at, you know, like 5 a.m. and I'm in a panic because I'm like, oh my gosh, I should have heard him at some point. Like, you know, what's wrong with him? And then I go in there and he's sleeping peacefully and he's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
And that's where it's like you realize just the longer you go with it that like God is sustaining your kid and you are not, no matter what you won't try to take control of. And like, yes, you want to provide as best you can for him. But like ultimately, like, and that's where it's really rewarding to see like every night, you know, we read bedtime stories and I pray over him and stuff before I lay him down in his crib. And it's just, I don't know. I just cherish that time. And that's my time to realize that like really God has put me in this position to steward Lincoln and to, you know, raise him as best I can, to walk with the Lord and everything like that. And he's a tremendous blessing, but like ultimately God is sustaining him and not me. Yeah. So, yeah.
Jeremy, you said sustaining your marriage. I'm curious, one, how have you seen that happen? But two, I'm also curious, how do you think your marriage has changed in the 7 months that you've had a child?
Well, yeah, I mean, like you said, there's been a lot of changes the past few years for Faith and I. Yeah, almost 8.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
8 months to the 19th. I don't know. A lot of it is sitting there saying, okay, what's really important at what time? Because on the one hand, I'm a fixer. I want to fix everything. And I want everything done like now in this order. But also learning like, hey, what doesn't need done at what time is somewhat important to know. But also sitting there saying, you know, this isn't important right now. And also sitting there saying like
you mean like
just like talking about little tasks and stuff like that, but also sitting there and saying, hey, I don't
potentially little conflicts.
Yeah. And even being like, hey, I don't know what to do here. Also letting yourself off the hook. Because I'm a perfectionist and very analytical. So I think a lot of things through more often than I should, but sitting there saying like, oh, he bumped his head. Oh no, I'm a terrible father. Or even like, oh no, I didn't do this and I should have done this for Faith or whatnot. Yeah. And also us talking through things like if there's a need and I don't perceive it as a need, but my wife perceives it as a need, then it's still most likely a need in some way for us to at least talk through and say, okay, it's just a really big evaluation of what we can and can't do, and also how we can trust and learn and grow together. It's a new field to grow on.
Yeah, I mean, you probably learn to communicate on hopefully on a better level.
Yeah, and also then being, which I'm still learning, which is different. Now that he's sleeping better, it's a little bit easier, but being more intentional with how we can spend time together and not only talk about kid stuff or house stuff or something like that. Because that's something easily you can fall into. And I know I've fallen into it. It's like the day-to-day of like work isn't fun, or work was good today, or how was your day? It's like, okay, so you just go from task to task versus like, okay, what are you really dreaming of? What can we like plan for in the future that's not just like a task?
Rachel and I have already felt that with house search stuff. And Rachel works overnight as a nurse. And so some weeks, not every week, it's not like we're not like some kind of martyr that's like, you know, we get plenty of time together. But some weeks we just have crazier weeks than normal where we don't get time together. And on those weeks, there's been a couple of times where we've realized like we need to talk about something other than the house search. Yes, that's like a task that we're trying to complete. in our marriage, but we're people beyond buying a house. And we have a marriage that extends beyond buying a house or having, how Micah's sleeping any given day or like how Lincoln's developing any given day. You have a marriage that goes beyond that.
And also sitting there, how you can love the other person, like in the midst of, so we had issues with Micah sleeping, and there's a real point where like it's like just having issues with the breaking, being like, okay, this isn't going to get any better. And there's a moment like, okay, we can spend money on this program, which we don't know if it's going to work or not, but like we're going to do it because as long as you're doing better, and like we have a path we're going on together, and saying we're going to make the sacrifice together. We don't care what this is, but this is the plan. We're going to go together because this will be better for our family regardless. And that's taking into account the needs of the other person versus what you perceive your need to be as far as other things.
You just have to be careful, like that, what you just thought, that's something that was brought up just actually over the last probably like 2 months with conversations with me and Kaylee, was the fact that when a kid comes into the picture, everything becomes like one task to the next. As far as like, when I come home from work, it's all about checking in with her of like, okay, how many poops, how many how many diapers, how many bottles, like
how was his nap?
What's next on the progression of Lincoln's schedule that we need to get through, and what can I step in at that point from work to like help out with, like bath time, reading, bedtime, all that. And then no point in that is it back to the old picture of just like when I come home, it's time with me and Kaylee. And so that's something you really have to guard against, I think. And we've talked about, and hopefully, fortunately, Lincoln has always been a great sleeper for us. And now he's pretty consistent getting through the night every night, as long as he's, has a pretty good day and all that. So that when we're able to get him down, then we still at this point are prioritizing having like at least another hour before we're calling it a night, because fortunately we're getting enough rest at that point where like after he goes to bed, we can still, we can just watch, whether it's simply just watching TV together or something like that, or just having some time to talk before we just call it a night and hit our heads on the pillow and just on to the next task of the next day.
I would say something that marriage has already taught me, and I assume this is only more true once you have a kid, is that when you're married, life can still be just as crazy and busy, if not more so than it ever was when you're single. And whenever things are crazy and busy, most people, like I would say 99% of people, your reflex is to then serve yourself first and to do what it takes in the stressful moments to make yourself feel good and better and relaxed. And, maybe when your kid's not sleeping well, the easy reflex is to do the things that make you cope with that better. But in marriage, especially you as a husband, you're called to be sacrificial. So even though your reflex is to take care of yourself, and you do have to take care of yourself, obviously, like you can't just fall apart, but you're also called to lay down your life for your wife and your kid. And sometimes that means serving yourself last. Like sometimes I don't have
typically
a kid yet.
serving yourself
Oftentimes,
I don't have a kid myself, but there's still been plenty of times in marriage where it's like, I'm really tired. I'm really worn out. I'm really sick of something. But I see Rachel has had a good day or a bad day or something. I know there's something that she needs or something that means a lot to her. And it's like, as much as I don't want to, in the moment, you got to be willing to serve your wife first. So many times, even though the reflex is, I don't feel good either. I don't feel, I'm tired too.
I had a rough day.
Yeah.
Or I want an extra hour of sleep, or
that's, and I think that's how God, that's part of how God uses kids, uses marriage to make you more like Christ. Christ wouldn't sit around and put himself first. Right. And we shouldn't sit around and put ourselves first, even though, that's much easier said than done.
It's really weird. It instantly puts you into that servant mode when a baby comes into picture, but then it also super focuses you that in the down times of that, you can become super self-focused as well. So that's like the play that it has. It's like God gives you this great blessing of like, you know, you're going to be a servant leader here because you have another life to
Here's a
protect
great
and all that,
blessing,
yeah.
and it's going to show you how selfish you are.
And it's going to show you how selfish and how much you need to work on
was
in those
talking to
other
a friend about
moments as
that.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Philippians 2, right?
Mhm.
Have this mind amongst yourself like that of Christ Jesus. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. So that's what we ought to look for. That's what we ought to strive for. Look to Christ who did that for us. And make decisions with confidence. God is sovereign over this stuff. And he gives us wisdom in the moment. And he doesn't call us to know the future.
Yep.
Yeah,
And we can step
that's
forward with
letting yourself
confidence.
rest in that too.
Yeah.
Yep.
To say, you know what, this could go badly potentially, as far as I'm concerned.
But even if it's a bad that God knew about.
right,
Yeah.
it didn't catch him off guard.
Yep.
It caught me off guard potentially, but it didn't catch the God who saw
and
all
it's a bad that
things.
God is with me in.
Yeah.
So,
right.
yeah.
Yep.
He's already planned it
Yeah.
for me.
All right.
Yeah, there you go. I think
We
that was
did
good.
it.
Andrew, was that good?
I think that was pretty good.
Hey, we didn't get to do that.
I didn't
last
listen
one.
to the last one, but that seemed better, I think.
Better.
I'm sure it was.
A marked improvement over the last one. Anybody got a quick reco? Jeremy's got a
I wasn't on my, yeah.
skedaddle off to
Yeah, I
his
have a
membership.
interview. Yeah,
church
interview.
Hopefully, I
membership.
passed my membership. I guess
Hopefully.
we'll have to do a
Everybody
update
throw up
next
a prayer
week.
for Jeremy. By the time you hear this, it'll already be done.
I need at least 4 amens on my Facebook posts, or it
But-
might not happen.
Yeah, go ahead and like the status, and
Dude, I haven't been on Facebook
so that
for
Jeremy
like a
can
week
get
and a half,
in,
2 weeks.
accepted as a member at our church. That'd be great. That's a quick recommendation for today.
Yeah, I'm also
become a church member.
Yeah,
Find a
that's-
good church.
That's what I was going to say,
Become a
too.
member.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I've been taking a break off social media a little bit. It's been kind of nice.
Well, see, I don't believe that you have because you didn't post about it beforehand.
Oh, I just completely quietly deleted Facebook and Instagram off my phone.
That's not
for
how you
like,
do it.
maybe
You have
we-
to announce first that you're
Well,
going
now
to
I
take
am
a break.
a week and a half after the fact.
Okay. And
Bring
then
now
people
I
can
can
like
do
it and they can say,
Yeah.
oh, we'll miss you. And then you...
That's how you know.
Yeah.
That's how I know I'm loved.
If we bring up that rec of membership, maybe we need to do a pod on church membership.
Let's
then.
do it.
Potentially, we
that'd be
need to
fun.
do that because we're not saying that as like it's not a necessity for salvation or anything
Well,
like that.
you're not saying that, but we haven't done the pod yet. No,
Yeah.
just kidding.
But there
Cliffhanger.
is, I was like, it is a good thing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, find a good church and invest in it and become a member and join in with the people that are there so that they can
Build
help
into-
build
Yeah.
into you and you can build into them. I also want to do an episode sometime soon where we talk about the process of meeting and deciding to marry our wives. I think that'll be interesting.
Dun, dun, dun.
I
Some
met
of the-
mine a long time ago.
You did. That'll be an interesting story too.
You have to walk through every detail.
But for now,
The
for
year
now-
was 19.
for now, you can
so
take a break
creepy.
off of social media. We recommend not announcing it beforehand.
Yeah, just do it.
Because that's kind of lame.
You can maybe tell, like, someone says, "Hey, I tagged you" or something. Like,
Well,
say,
then
"Oh, I
talk to
didn't."
them.
You can talk to them about it directly, but
Yeah. And also find a good church, become a good church member, and be a part of the people of God in your community and serve together and all that good stuff.
get to know your neighbors. That's always
And
good.
until next time, leave us some reviews, share the show.
Only if they're 5 stars.
Only if they're 5 stars.
Leave comments. Get us with feedback for like anything
Did we
else
ever
you
get a
might want to
P.O.
hear
box?
or
I was thinking about that
any
earlier.
points
We
that you
never-
want us to bring up.
Yeah, no P.O. box yet.
No.
Tell us what you want us to bring up and talk about. But until next time, we will see you next time.
Catch you on the flip.
Sounds good.